What do you make of the Sixers right now? They've been intensely popular over the last 5 or 6 years, but can't seem to get over the hump. And no, I'm just kind of curious at the way that you look at it.
So I have a very player's perspective. I get that it takes time. Things take time, and I think the unfair thing for the Sixers, not for anyone's fault, just bad luck, is you really haven't had that much. You've only had a small sample size of what happens when Harden, Maxey, and Embiid are all playing at the same time. So when those three are all playing, it's uncomfortable because no one's really knows what they're supposed to do. I mean, you look what happens when Harden goes out. Suddenly, it's like the power structure shifts, and now Embiid's going out and dropping nearly 60 points and doing all this, and Max is contributing, and everyone else can kind of fill in. But then when those pieces are individually taken out and sprinkled around, it's like they don't really know who's the alpha. Like it's, I guess Embiid's the alpha, but it's. I will say this: the hardest thing, and we're not in the Shaq era anymore, but even still, like Shaq had Penny, Shaq had Kobe. It is hard to take over a game and be the guy when you're a center because you can't have the ball in your hands. You have to have someone give you the ball. So that's what I always thought was the biggest problem in the playoffs is their alpha male is a big who you can't really win a championship unless the guy who has the ball in his hand is doing things other than just getting the ball in the post. And he's a good shooter. But he's not the guy who's going to create off the dribble as much because he's so, when he's 25, 30 feet away from the basket, it's really tough for him to have the ability to create against a really tough defender.
That's the paradox of it, Kevin, is what's fascinating to me because you look at the NBA being such a perimeter game these days,
Hmm.
and yet you look at like the MVP race and it's like Jokic and Embiid 1 and 2. But at the
Yeah.
same time, like they run this like delay action with Joel, having the ball, and then your two pin down screens and everybody running up on the side. You have sets where he's on the perimeter, but right, you're not gonna like ISO Joel, or you're not going to ISO Jokic in the last possession of like game 7 in
Yep.
the playoffs. So it's still, that's the funny part of it to me on one layer. And then even within the Sixers team, James Harden is probably the best in the NBA at creating weak spots and identifying mismatches and just getting switches off of quick screens and stuff like that. So I just find that all fascinating. It's like, I don't know how you mesh all of that together, how you make sense of all that.
No, I totally agree. And that's a lot of people are putting a lot of pressure on Doc, and I get that. I think not that I'm defending him. I just think it's very tough because I don't think he even has figured it out because he hasn't had enough time to be like, okay, what works with this group, what doesn't. Like you said, Harden's very strong at this, and B's very strong in this, and they should really coincide very easily. But I don't think they've had the sample of how exactly Harden plays and how exactly Embiid plays to really give it the old college try and figure it out. That's why this season I thought was so important. I mean, I'm all about on paper it's great. Like I thought it's crazy because I comparing to the Phillies. The Phillies in spring training, I was telling people I'm buying my World Series tickets by June. I was like, I'm hoping they make the playoffs because on paper they were great, and then they end up showing it, but they ended up being that underdog. So I think the Sixers are similar. They're on paper, they're great. They just maybe they need a change of coach. Maybe they need just to figure out how these three can all interact together, and they need to be injury free. Jesus, it's
Yeah.
it's wild how the injury bug has affected this team.